This is Barry Gordon, Mayor of Duncanville, speaking. We are doing this special City Council meeting by telephone conference by audio only. However, in the past, we have also done broadcasting, and we are still broadcasting live via Spectrum for those that have it. So that's information for those of you who have dialed in and are listening to our conversations tonight by audio. Before we go ahead and get started,
This meeting is now being recorded.
Just want to state to those that are listening in that the city council members that are present are practicing social distancing, and the city hall building is closed to the public. Those individuals here present for city council have chosen to be present physically for tonight, and I'm going to go around the table and state to you listening who is actually here. I'm going to work around the table as the individuals are seated. We have Patrick Harvey, council member at large, Johnette Jameson, council member from District 5, Don Matt Burnett, Mayor Pro Tem, District 2, Mark Cooks, council member of District 4, and Joe Veracruz from District 1. Also present in the room tonight are the city manager, Mr. Kevin Hugman, the assistant city manager, Mr. Paul Fredrickson, and city secretary, Kristen Downs. Just so you have a good understanding of that, that makes 9 individuals in the room, and we are in compliance with the no gatherings of 10 or more people. If the instance does require any individual from staff to come in, we will only allow 1 more individual into the room to remain at 10 persons or less. So we are in full compliance with the laws that are in effect. Before going any further, I would like each individual council member just to say a few words, just as a test for the audio to our listening audience. Mr. Harvey.
This is Patrick Harvey. This is a test.
You may have to speak up a little more, Mr. Harvey, because there are only 2 microphones on the table there.
This is Patrick Harvey. This is a test.
Thank you. Ms. Jameson.
This is Johnette Jameson, and it's a lovely evening.
This is Don McBurnett, and I agree with Johnette. It's a lovely evening.
Mark Cooks, District 4. Good evening.
Joe Veracruz, District 1. Good evening.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I'm here. Hey, Barry, can y'all hear me?
Oh, Monty. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Y'all, yeah, are y'all all there?
Yeah.
You want this time?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now,
Well, I'm here.
while I've got you, tell me how's everybody coming across? Can you hear everything okay? Monty.
I can hear y'all fine. I can hear y'all fine. I can hear you good.
All right, very good. Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Mayor, you may want to also mention that the city attorney is also on teleconference.
Oh, okay. And the city attorney is also teleconferencing. Shelby
Pearson.
Pearson. Pearson.
Piercy.
Pearson. Okay, thank you very much. You're there?
I'm here. Can everybody hear me okay?
We hear you fine.
Very well.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Just as a matter of telecommunication protocol, council members, this includes you, Monty. As we go, if you wish to speak, you must announce your name before you say anything. For the listening audience, they won't be able to recognize voices. So if you want to speak, I need a raised hand or something at me to know that you wish to speak. Announce your name so that the listening audience knows who's speaking, and we will proceed further from there. Some new protocols that we have to get under our belts. So what I want to do procedurally is read something from the agenda just so it goes onto the record. In accordance with an order of the Office of the Governor issued on March 16th, 2020, the City Council for the City of Duncanville, Texas will conduct a City Council special meeting by telephone conference at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, March 31st, 2020. In order to advance the public health goal of limiting face-to-face meetings, also called social distancing, in an effort to slow the spread of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. This is an open meeting conducted by telephone conference. As such, there is no public access to the physical location, which was closed previously. And we do accept public comments. There was an information item put out that says to submit public comments, email the city secretary. Title of the email, public comment. All public comments submitted by 4 p.m. on Tuesday, March 31st will be provided to city council members and entered into the record for March 31, 2020 city council special meeting. And for those listening and present, I do have some citizen comments that we will enter into the record, and we'll have discussion from city council, but we can have some addressing of the items, maybe by myself or by the city manager. The public toll-free dial number to access the meeting is 1-720-902-7700, and the meeting ID is 149-038-4118. A recording of the telephonic meeting will be made available to the public in accordance with the Open Meetings Act upon written request. So I am now calling the meeting to order officially at 6:06 p.m. March 31st, 2020. Item number 1 on the agenda is citizens input. And pursuant to section 551.007 of the Texas Government Code, any member of the public has the opportunity to address the city council concerning any matter of public business or any posted agenda item. However, the act prohibits city council from deliberating any issues not on the agenda, and such non-agenda issues may be referred to city staff for research and any future action. All persons addressing are subject to council adopted rules and limitations permitted by law. And as previously stated, I do have some that have been submitted in accordance with instructions prior to 4 o'clock today. Moving on to item 2, items for individual consideration. City Secretary, please read items 2A and 2B into the record.
2A, consider a resolution ordering the cancellation of the joint election on May 2nd, 2020 and declaring the election of unopposed candidates for mayor and council member from District 4 of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas to a 2-year term.
Let me interrupt. I'm so used to the city secretary reading the items for consent first before we get to consideration. I do the ones for consideration, so actually I should be reading the ones for individual consideration. So let me redo that. So item 2A, consider resolution ordering the cancellation of the joint election on May 2, 2020 and declaring the election of unopposed candidates for mayor and council member from District 4 of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas for a 2-year term.
City Secretary Kristen Downs, this resolution has the unopposed candidates for District 4 and mayor to, since they're running unopposed, this takes their names off of the ballot and will help save on the election costs. Any questions? Comments?
Well, it also said Mark Cooks will also save, it shouldn't save on the election costs in November, if we're moving it to November, according to what I received from Pippin Pools as well. I won't continue the matter other than I'd ask for a email from Pippin Pools from the election office to further explain that the cost in November of having the mayor and the District 4 on the ballot in November to be further sent to us through an email from Pippin Pools, since I received something different through that office.
I have reached out to Ms. Pippin Poole, and unfortunately their office is non-essential, so they are not responding to their emails right now, and they are out until, what did I say, the 7th, I think, April 7th is when they're out. The way I'm understanding is that when you produce a ballot, your cost is coming from that ballot, and we're going to be charged by the number of voters who are voting on that ballot. So if we have a mayor ballot, a District 4, and a District 2, we're going to be charged for each ballot being produced. That's the understanding I'm getting from Dallas County Elections Department.
Mr. Hugman has a comment?
Mayor and Council, City Manager Hugman. So in talking with the City Secretary and in her conversations with Ms. Pippin's pool, I think that the question had been about adding to the ballot, and correct me if I'm wrong, but our understanding was to add a person to a ballot for the existing race for District 2 was not going to be an additional cost. However, nobody in District 2 would be voting for District 4 anyway. But to put it in the November ballot, because our costs are always prorated based on the total cost of the elections, Dallas County then prorates the cost back to each participating entity. So we get charged based on the number of voters that we have voting. So in the November election, we would get charged by the numbers of voters. So if we have the mayor and District 4 on the ballot, that would be more people voting in city elections, and therefore our costs would be higher. Whereas not on the ballot, then those costs are for the party elections or for the general election, not for city elections. So that is the consideration. That is your cost, your call. I think what we also determined from the city attorney was that under the circumstances with the waiver of rules, if you do cancel the election for mayor in District 4, then the mayor and District 4 council member could be sworn in immediately after the May date, was our understanding, and the city attorney is on the line. She can add to that or correct me if I was wrong, but I believe that was what she had said before.
Yes, this is Shelby Piercing. That is correct. Guidance from the election division of the Secretary of State's office, if the election is canceled, then those running unopposed may be sworn in and take their oath of office anytime after May 2nd.
Okay, Mr. Cooks?
This is Mark Cooks. I thank you, City Manager and City Secretary, for explaining it. I'm only bringing this up because I too got information, as I mentioned before, from that office. So probably in November, I'll just have to remember to ask to see the number of what we were charged for the November election to compare with what we would have been charged for May as well. Just from my knowledge, since it was different than what I've heard. So I can move off of that at this point.
Okay. Yeah, this is Barry Gordon. From what Mr. Hugman said, basically to put Mr. Cook's name and my name on the ballot, the city would be incurring unnecessary costs, or would be incurring costs not necessary for the election of either of us to our terms. So it's a financial decision more than anything else. And I will state that Mr. Cooks and I had some discussions about, even though we are unopposed, it was our hopes to be able to get people out to vote, just because there's an apathy about voting. And we didn't understand that the impact would be a financial impact on the city. We were looking at it as more of a gesture on our part as unopposed, that we still wanted people to come out and vote. So he and I both had an enlightening about this particular aspect of it. I will add, in terms of a comment from Ms. Devane, I have in front of me an election advisory number 2020-12. This is from Ruth R. Hughes, Secretary of State, and it is a public document. It's dated March 18th, 2020. And this is the advisory advising about the cancellation possibilities that each jurisdiction has. And one of the other things, in terms of deadlines, filings, there can be no additional filings. The filing dates are closed, withdrawal dates are closed. None of that changes. And in terms of what was discussed by City Secretary and by City Manager, in terms of Mr. Cooks and myself being taking the oath of office, that is discussed in this advisory as well. So when we approach that particular time, we can discuss that in greater detail and understanding with both our city attorney and city secretary. So if any of you want us to see that, I'm sure it's available on the state State website is, again, it's election advisory number 2020-12 dated March 18, 2020 from the Secretary of State.
Mr. Mayor, Mark Cooks, is that something you pulled off, or that was something sent?
No, I went and looked for it and I found it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
Johnette Jameson, what is, since you brought it up, what is it basically saying? Just, can you give us a brief synopsis?
Yeah, brief synopsis is that each jurisdiction has an option of canceling the May election.
Goodbye.
Canceling the May election in the city and moving that election to the general election in November 3rd. Is your question about terms? Is that what
No,
you
does
like?
it include terms?
Yes,
This-
this
okay.
advisory does include that.
Okay, yeah.
Let's see. Let's see.
Still on?
So it covers everything?
Yes,
Oh.
yeah.
No, we are, Tracy is checking to see what happened, but since we have a quorum of the council here, we can continue the meeting. We're still legal.
We've lost our audio though.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
He's checking on that.
Okay. Okay.
Can we all have copies of that, please?
Sure.
No. Help in case somebody asks us a question.
Mr. Veracruz.
So, do I need to announce still? Well, Joe Veracruz, Councilman. Of course, my wife being on the school board, I did reach out to Dr. Smith and their plans for the upcoming election. And this is for Dr. Smith. He's going to recommend that they move the election to November. And of course, the board will have to take action and get all the documents drawn up, but likely to be voting next week. So it's just some information for you.
All right, they're voting, you said, I'm sorry, they're voting next week?
Welcome to Ring Central
You
Meeting.
said they're voting next week or they moving?
Enter your meeting
They're voting
ID,
to-
followed by the pound or
Next
hash
week.
sign.
Yes.
Yeah, I
This
think
is-
all the entities are.
So this is Barry Gordon. So basically, the Duncanville Independent School District, should we decide to cancel
Enter your
ours with our
participant
next
ID,
vote
followed by
momentarily,
pound, or
they would
stay
be
on
in
the line to be
consonance with the
connected
city of
automatically.
Duncanville. Okay. So the chair will entertain a motion.
You are in the Ring Central
order
meeting
cancellation
now.
of the joint election on May 2020
There are
and declaring the election of
4
unopposed candidates for Mayor
participants in the
Duncanville
meeting.
District 4 of the city of Duncanville
You are
for a
muted.
2-year term.
You can mute. You
Joe
are
Veracruz,
unmuted.
so moved.
Or sick.
We have a motion for Mr. Veracruz to approve.
Don McBurnett, second the motion.
We have a second from Mr. Mac Burnett. Now,
This
since we are
meeting is now
on
being
audio,
recorded.
trying to be, we need to do a roll call vote on this.
Hey, well, hold on.
And so I'm going to go down the way.
Hello, you got a
Mayor,
question in
Mayor.
the back?
Councilman.
Hello?
Monty's back.
Mayor,
Yes, yes,
Mayor, this is Monty Anderson.
yes.
So this thing disconnected me as y'all were finishing whatever you were finishing, so I don't know what the motion is.
The motion is to approve the cancellation of the election of May 2nd and move it to November 3rd for the general election.
No.
Well,
No, we're on 2A.
we're on to it. Well,
2A.
order, okay, I'll read it. If you don't have the agenda, Monty, it says, consider resolution.
I do, I have the agenda.
Okay.
I have it.
We have a motion to approve item 2A. And we have a second.
Okay, thank you.
And I was just about, we are doing a roll call election, roll call vote. So I'm both going down the list that's been prepared for me, and I will get to you, okay?
Councilmember Veracruz, for or against?
4.
Mayor Pro Tem McBurnett, for or against?
4.
Councilmember Anderson, for or against?
4.
Councilmember Cooks, for or against?
4.
Councilmember Jameson, for or against?
I would like to say we don't have a choice, because I would prefer the election to be held in May. But since we don't have a choice,
Yeah, this,
Canceling the mayor and district boards.
It's just their race.
so To cancel the
To-
election,
to
right?
be-
No, not
Just
that
that-
election, just the mayor and District 4 for the
Oh.
ballot.
Well, okay, yeah, never mind.
So that's a 4. At-large council member Harvey, 4 are against.
4.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Gordon, 4 are against.
4. Motion is passed unanimously. Thank you, council members. Moving on to item 2B. Consider amending Resolution 2020-09, postponing the general election of May 2nd, 2020 to November 3rd for the purpose of electing one council member for District 2 to a 2-year term, designating polling places, authorizing execution of joint election contract for the November 3, 2020 election.
City Secretary Kristen Downs. This is moving because of COVID-19 to the November elections, which we discussed. I would like to say that this does not open the candidates filing, and the term limits would be November to May 2020. We are not pushing our elections back. 22, sorry, to May 22. We are not going to push any of our elections to the November elections. And I would also like to say anybody that is in District 2 and they have campaign filing reports, those are now going to go off of the November election schedule. Any questions or comments?
Restate that in terms of the terms, please. This is Barrett Gordon.
The terms will be November of 2020 to May 2022.
Mark Cook, so that's 18 months versus the,
Yes, sir.
Okay, John Ed Jameson,
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to ask the city attorney, is there something we should state or do because we are changing the length of a term, and can we do that legally? Where does it give us the authority?
Yes.
Where is,
This is Shelby. I'm sorry, go ahead and finish.
can we do it, and where does it give us the authority to change the term time?
Okay, this is Shelby Piercy. We have dealt with this issue in other, with some other clients, other cities. The governor's proclamation regarding May elections is allows the postponement to November without otherwise adjusting the term of office. The Attorney General's advisory information also states that the current office holders will hold over in office until the election in November. What we have as collectively, what we have interpreted that to mean is that the person in office now that holds over until November will essentially have a longer term, and the person who is elected in November serves a year and a half, essentially.
Okay, well, I listened to the governor, and I never heard him say anything about the term limits. I did not listen to the Attorney General, but they stated, rather than going on assumptions, they stated that the term would be shorter for the ones that are... No?
No, they have said that the statement from the governor is that the term of office will not be adjusted. Now, the terms run from May 2nd to the following May. So the way that we have interpreted how this goes forward with pushing the election to November is that for this election cycle, the person who's holding over will hold over until November, having a longer term, but the elections will still go to May. So they'll still take place in May. So when that person's term of office begins in November, it isn't going to end in 2 years in November. There won't be a second election. It will end in May, a year and a half later.
Well, I understand when the new election's taking place. So what you're saying basically is that your office is interpreted it this way. Because
Yes, there is.
you've not had a directive from anybody.
Not that I am aware of, not that we have received. We haven't seen any specific direction on that.
Okay.
This is Barry Gordon. If I may interject, and Shelby, it's going to require some amplification on your part. I'm reading from the governor's proclamation itself, and this is the proclamation dated March 18, 2020, that was filed in the office of the Secretary of State at 10 o'clock a.m. on March 18th. And going all the way through the proclamation down to the getting rid of the whereases and getting to the therefore. It says, let's see, okay. Political subdivisions that would otherwise hold elections on May 2nd, 2020 to move their general and special elections for 2020 only to the next uniform election date occurring November 3, 2020 without otherwise adjusting the term of office. So the interpretation you're giving to that particular statement in the government's proclamation, could you amplify that one more time for us, please?
Okay. So the governor's proclamation, the way that we are interpreting it based on other laws, the way that the governor has written this, that the postponement to November is allowed. Okay, the postponement itself adjusts the term of office, but nothing else will. So without otherwise adjusting the term of office. So the advisory information, the office holders that hold over until the election in November, obviously their term of office is adjusted because of the postponement. The person who takes office in November, their term of office is adjusted because of the postponement. But because the governor's proclamation says without otherwise adjusting the term of office, we take that as that the term, once after it's postponed, the term of office isn't going to be adjusted any further. So it wouldn't be extended due to the postponed November election.
Okay, this is Johnette Jameson. Then I want to ask, when you're talking about legal bodies, so am I to understand then that the governor can override a city charter?
You're asking if this proclamation overrides the city charter?
Well, he's using his authority as governor to override a city charter. And my understanding is that like municipalities and local governments can make stricter rules than the bodies that are like the governor's office or state. We can't make laxer rules.
So if the charter, this is Monty Anderson, the charter says you have to have 2-year terms. Can the state overrule that and shorten it to 1.5-year term?
Well, but it's not, the state is not shortening it. The election is being moved by city council's decision, the election is being postponed. What the governor is stating in this proclamation is the effect of the postponement of the election. So they're not if through this proclamation, the governor is not shortening the term. Through the proclamation, they are clarifying what the effect of a postponement of the election is. So if the city did not postpone, then they would have a two-year term.
This is Monty Anderson again. I completely understand that. I understand what you're saying, but just saying this, can you shorten a term 2 years? So the next term is shortened. It's 1.5 years instead of 2. But I mean, I'm just asking. I got asked this question, and I just want to see if we can make sure that's clear.
Yes, it is shortened. But for those on the ballot for November, when they take office, they will serve from November 2020 until May of 2022.
Okay, I understand that. So it can't override what the charter says, right? That's what you're telling us.
Yeah, that was my question also, John Jameson. Can the governor override a city charter?
Well, the way that I see it, that's not what they're doing with this. Now, they are, I mean, I think what is being confused about this is that this creates an effect that it overrides city charter, but it is not actually the governor overriding city charter.
Okay, so the governor's action overrides it. I mean, by their action, by this action taken, it automatically overrides that.
By suspending section 410052 A and B of the election code,
Mark Cooks.
that does have the effect of overriding it. Now, because there hasn't been specific guidance on this. This is absolutely something that that in the meantime we could gain some clarity on. But as it has come out, that's the way that we interpret it.
Okay.
Because once they suspend, I mean, it's going to be a temporary suspension of this section, and once it goes back into effect, then the May elections are going to happen. Now, the city it's not mandating that the city has to postpone the election.
And that's exactly, Mark Cooks, that's exactly what I was going to say. By us voting on it, we're saying that we are accepting it. I think if I'm reading the governor's information correctly, he's given us an option to say we can move it to November. He didn't say you have to. So by us voting to say, let's move it,
Yeah,
we're doing our own charter piece and not the governor.
But that only affects one
Right.
race. It doesn't affect because you didn't have an opponent. I think we should get further clarification. Can you get further clarification from the governor?
It wouldn't be from it likely would not be from the governor. It would likely be from the Attorney General's office.
Okay, then Paxton, can you get,
Okay,
And I mean, that's something that we can do.
well, it's going to affect probably more jurisdictions than just Duncanville.
well, this is very important. I'd like to put this.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd like to put this into realistic terms. The individual affected for this is only one district. Now that district office holder still has office until November. So that individual's term has not been shortened in any way, shape, or form. It's actually been extended.
No, but the next part, if it
The
comes
next-
back, then it's nothing, it's a wash.
In November of 2022, District 2, no,
The election, sorry, the city manager Hugman, no, the election would still be in May. The election cycle will not change. By the governor's order, he's saying the term is not affected. So the term, the real term, is still May of 2022.
right.
But I have a question for the city attorney. The discussion, the concern being about a shortened term, but is this not somewhat similar to when you have a runoff election? Because a runoff will also shorten the term of whoever's elected because of when the runoff election is held, but that is something that happens occasionally.
That's 6 months, that's half a year.
Right,
I know that.
That's a big difference. It's not.
But I'm
weeks.
asking the city attorney if that is a somewhat similar type of situation, that's an unforeseen situation, as in with this COVID-19.
This isn't a.
Yes, so if there was a runoff, if there was a lawsuit, if there was some reason why, out of the ordinary, that a person could not take office on the normal date on which they take their oath, they don't change the election cycle. It changes their term.
Now what? If someone was sick and they couldn't take office, you're saying?
No, if there was, no, I'm talking about what I believe Monty brought up, that if there is a circumstance, a situation like a runoff election, like a recount, whatever it may be, that would delay the person taking office, that does not have the effect of changing the next election cycle. It has the effect of shortening that term.
I don't think anybody questions that because you're talking about a lot shorter time period for a runoff than half a year. That's 6 months. I would like to have an answer to that question so that we could feel like what we were doing was
This is Monty Anderson.
correct.
Again, here's what Mark Cook said I think is right. Because by us taking this action, we're actually amending the charter, if you will.
Right.
It's actually the system changing that 2-year term.
Yeah, and that's what, Mark, that's exactly, I think what you hear from the governor. I made a recommendation. You guys voted on it.
No, that was just to
Maybe
not have y'all.
amending is the wrong word. Maybe amending is the wrong word.
We're talking about that.
Whatever would be the right word, Mr. Attorney.
Right, you're not amending the charter because you're not changing the terms from here on out. You're not changing the terms of every council member for the next, until it gets changed again. You're voting on, you voted on the postponement of this election. You're not required to, the governor's not requiring you to. But what the governor's proclamation has said is that the effect is that the term of office will not be adjusted other than by the postponement itself.
Okay, I need to,
So by city council's action.
Okay, the next individual that had a comment is Mr. Harvey. Mr. Harvey?
Thank you, Mayor. This is Patrick Harvey, City Council at Large. I am in a position that I understand that we're accepting the governor's offer, and I'm ready to make a motion if you are ready to entertain it.
I'm ready to entertain a
good with it.
motion. I'm ready to entertain a motion. I don't see that what Mr. Cooks has said is amending the city charter. We are in unprecedented grounds at the moment, and what we're doing is what's necessary to accommodate our citizenry in terms of electing people to the offices that they have chosen to occupy. So I am willing to entertain a motion to approve, but prior to any further discussion, Mr. Hugman has a comment, please.
Mayor, council, and city attorney Piercy, asking for the city attorney if this is a coverage, this part of the city charter, section 7.02, regulation of elections. The council shall make all regulations considered to be necessary or desirable which are not inconsistent with this charter or the laws of the state of Texas for the conduct of municipal elections, for the prevention of fraud, and shall make provisions for recount of the ballots in case of doubt or fraud. The council will appoint election officials who will conduct the municipal elections consistent with this charter or regulations made by the council or the laws of the state of Texas. So, Ms. City Attorney, is that essentially giving the council the authority to do that?
Yes.
To make that regulation?
Councilmember Johnette Jameson, but it said twice in there that are not inconsistent with the charter. They are inconsistent with the charter. That's the problem.
Not amending the term, though.
Can you tell me where you're reading that from?
Because it is
That's
inconsistent.
section 7.02 in the city charter.
But they are inconsistent with our charter. Is there a problem getting him to say it? Getting the governor to say that? Or Pakistan?
Mayor and Council, City Manager Hugman also, again, and City Attorney, Section 2.01 also talks about the number selection and term. The council shall consist of 7 members, a mayor and 6 council members selected from the city in the manner provided in Article 7 for a term of 2 years or until a successor has been elected or appointed and takes office as provided in Section 2.04. So, again, it talks about the successor being appointed or elected.
Okay, you're not the attorney.
I'm asking her for her opinion. I'm just pointing her to the section.
Shelby, Mr. Hugman's asking for an opinion on what he just read.
I'm sorry, you just cut out. Can you repeat that?
City Attorney also pointing to Section 2.01 in the city charter, where it refers to a term of 2 years or until a successor has been elected or appointed.
Okay. Yes, I do see that. And you're asking are you asking if that portion of the charter would,
Well, I'm asking for the attorney, the city attorney.
it's not inconsistent?
City Manager Hugman, I'm asking for the city attorney's opinion then on whether if the council moves the election to November, if that is still consistent with the charter's wording about the term. This seems to be, the question seems to be of whether we are violating the charter by moving the election to November and shortening the term. My question for you is, if Section 2.01 and the section in Chapter 7 are still consistent with that shortened term by moving the election to November. Is the council still in consistency with the city charter as it is written?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So, the chair will entertain a motion to approve item 2B.
This is Patrick Harvey, City Council at Large. I move that we amend Resolution 2020-009 as stated here in the agenda.
I'll second.
Wait,
Mark Cooks.
amended to what?
It said, consider amending Resolution 2020-009, postponing the general
There you go.
election. Oh, okay, postponing the general election of May 2nd, 2020 to November 3rd, 2020 for the purpose of electing one council member for District 2 for a 2-year term, designating polling places, authorizing execution of joint election contract for the November 3rd, 2020 election.
We have a motion to approve item 2B. Is there a second?
Great.
Second.
Councilmember Veracruz has seconded the motion.
Councilmember Veracruz, for or against?
4.
Mayor Pro Tem Mac Burnett, for or against?
4.
Councilmember Anderson, for or against?
4.
Councilmember Cooks, for or against?
4.
Councilmember Jameson, for or against? 4. At-large Councilmember Harvey, for or against?
4.
Mayor Gordon, for or against?
4. Thank you for your vote, council members. The item 2B is unanimously approved. Thank you. I would like to ask a question of our city attorney. It's apart from this, but it's on the election issue itself. May I still do that? City attorney?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
There's a provision that I have read that says that those individuals who are unopposed can still take the oath of office.
Yes, after the May 2nd date.
Okay, so that is a separate item city council would have to take up at another time, but there's nothing in what we've done tonight that does all that. In terms of District 4 and the mayor's office, there would be a separate resolution or a separate motion on that, or it would just occur May 2nd.
It would be the canvassing of the votes, and I would do it on May 5th.
So on May 5th, council member for District 4 and the mayor would take the oath of office. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood that particular aspect of this. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 3, 3A, discuss meeting protocols during COVID-19 emergency period. I understand, Mr. Cooks, this was put on the agenda at your request.
Yes, Mark Cooks, I just want to just make sure that we are, I know once we talked about this last time, we talked about whether we continue with the city business while the emergency period was in effect. So I was kind of left confused whether we're going to continue with the city business or have limited city business during this period. So I guess I wanted more clarification on how we proceed with city business during this particular time of the emergency period.
In response to that, my preference and perception is that we continue having our city council meetings as scheduled on the first and third Tuesdays of every month, because there's still city business that has to be conducted in order for the city manager to do what's necessary as the CEO of the city to keep everything in operation. By his statement, I think we would all agree that we're going to try and keep those agendas as succinct and compact and right to the point as we possibly can. But yes, absolutely, I do not see us foregoing any city council meetings, especially now with the options that we have to go with teleconferencing. We have that ability, and we should continue to have regularly scheduled city council meetings on first and third Tuesdays. Business as usual, just the delivery system just going to be a little bit different.
Well, I think what I'm hearing, the delivery system is a little different. That's correct. But I think the agenda item, we probably need to continue with our regular, some of our agenda items and not, I think I heard you say we will kind of concise some of our agenda items until this period is over. That's not doing business like we normally do. I think we just continue putting, unless there's just a whole lot more on the agenda, we keep our agenda items going as needed and not delay it because we're doing this emergency period.
No, I wouldn't foresee that. That's not what I intended. I'm saying that the essential business items that are necessary for the city manager to conduct business would still be included on the agenda. We may cut down on some informational briefing items or something like that, but keeping things as tight to the business as necessary.
So if a council member still wanted to add something to
Sure.
the agenda, we still add things to the agenda as normal?
Absolutely.
I want to make sure of that.
Yeah. Mr. Hugman, any comment?
Yes, sir, Mayor, City Manager Hugman. Yes, our intent is to continue the agenda the way it was structured. What we would do is we would cut down on briefing items if we can, and we would also cut down, we would not do our staff reports that we typically have been doing.
Okay.
We'll try to, if we can, we may provide those to you as a PowerPoint, but we will cut down on that. And essentially just trying to, we had a number of things on our plate that we were wanting to come and discuss with you, but at this point, we're going to put those on the back burner and try to just conduct the essential business. But the agenda itself, formatting with mayor's report, council members' reports, we will probably cut out proclamations unless it's an urgent one or important one. But again, trying to streamline that to the business, because recognizing that we're also doing this either teleconferencing or video conferencing, it is not as easy. So, but otherwise, yes, trying to keep it as normal as possible, but get rid of some of the other things that we've been doing typically.
So Mark Cooks again, so again, I understand then that it is more on the staffing piece, presentation, proclamation, and not on the council members piece. I just want to make sure that if we have items we feel that we need to discuss as council members, which the emergency period is a lot more that we have to discuss, that we put that on there as well as any other city business a council person may feel is necessary. So I didn't want to come and ask to put something on the agenda and he would say, oh, it's not, the emergency period delays us from doing that. Just want to make sure I didn't cross those lines and someone says it's not an emergency period. I mean, because of emergency period, we can't do that.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Mr. Anderson.
This is Councilmember Anderson.
Yeah, go ahead. You said you wanted to say something.
Okay, along the same lines of Councilmember Cook here, I want to make sure that, that our planning and zoning meetings, our building inspections, our business, because there's companies out there still doing business, and right now, they need their inspections, they need their zoning, they need things, and just to disclose everything, I have business coming myself to the city, and I know of other businesses that need things, and I know there's not much on the agendas, but these are very important that we stay open during this time, and as we come out of this, we haven't just ended the business of people needing things in town. And so I would hope that this would be a time we'd sharpen our customer service and even work harder on, delivering those services to our businesses in this town, because right now they're struggling hard, and and there's people that are wanting to do things and they're trying to do things, and so I just don't want to see us shut down. Building inspections, health inspections, planning and zoning, city council, any of that stuff to stop our city. Because there are things we can do, like you said, with the video conferencing and still keeping our distance, that we can still handle this business.
I'll turn it over to Mr. Hugman, city manager, has a comment.
Thank you, City Manager Hugman. I also want to mention really quick that Tracy, our IT manager, knows why we lost the call earlier, and apparently it is timing out, and it's probably going to time out again in about 3 minutes now. So if we drop the call, that is why we will get the call back on as soon as we can. To Councilmember Anderson's point, we are conducting business as normal as possible. We are still doing all business inspections, building inspections, building code inspections that we need to, fire inspections for certificates of occupancy. We are not doing proactive fire inspections right now, but if it's for a CO or a permit, we are doing that. All of our permits are being handled online or over the phone. We know that planning and zoning will need to meet for some specific things. We know the Economic Development Corporation and the TIF Board will need to meet for some specific things. We will conduct those meetings either teleconferencing or video conferencing as we need to conduct business and to keep business flowing. We are also, though, cognizant that we are under an order, and so it also falls to the essential businesses But construction is part of that, and we are supporting those.
But essential, just one thing, thank you, City Manager, Councilman Anderson here again. I understand that, I know that it needs to be for essential businesses, but I also want to make sure we're preparing to open back up, that we're not just flat on our face. So if an essential, non-essential business is trying to get a permit today for the future, when they can open, I want to have it where that day that we get open again, that they're ready to go. So I see them as essential for our economy and in our community. But these businesses.
This is City Manager Hudson. Councilmember Anderson, we are not denying any permits other than right now for garage sales, and that has to do with social distancing. So we are not denying any kind of construction permits.
Okay. Well, I want to talk to you tomorrow. I'll talk to you at a different time, just about something there. Okay. Thank you.
Are we gonna lose connection?
That's all I have.
We have 1 minute.
And they just have to log back in.
Okay. When we come back, I think we would like to hear how things are progressing in terms of getting from audio to video.
I'll talk to you.
Okay.
We'll take a commercial break. We'll be right back.
So for those listening, we're going to lose connection in just a matter of seconds, and as soon as it's reestablished, we will be back. We are not recessing City Council.
Thank you.
And so what does that fall under, coronavirus?
Yes. That's where we're discussing meetings.
So do we have to pay for?
Goodbye.
Okay.
Pardon?
So do we have to pay for more? Do we have to set it up for unlimited time? Is that what's happening?
I don't know. We'll have to research this. I'll wait till we come back on,
Okay.
but so just kind of recess this.
Hands on it.
Oh.
I think it's the technology, like church trying to do a service on Sunday.
When
we go to WebEx.
The same kind of technology, telecommuting, and about 30 minutes in, it just dropped. Okay.
I have the answer.
Are we back on?
Give me a bell.
Yeah.
Kristen needs to dial in yet too, right?
Oh,
It's a scaffold.
It was a 3-month deal, but it has a timeout.
Well, it's kind
Go
of
to
like,
WebEx.
kind of like get it free with the advertisements for pay.
Yeah.
You paid all that money? You got more than me.
You think so? How much you got?
Welcome to Ring Central Meeting. Enter your meeting ID, followed by the pound or
I have some
hash
idea
sign.
to it.
Enter your participant ID, followed by pound, or stay on the line to be connected automatically. You are in the Ring Central meeting now. There are 3 participants in the meeting. You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing *6.
He's a
Very.
Me.
Hello?
yeah,
You are unmuted.
Monty?
Yeah, we're back.
Yeah, okay, we're waiting to get Tracy, in here to give us an update on the technology.
Well, Mayor, City Manager Hugman, I think I can give you that unless Tracy has any additional information that he wants to add. I'll have him step by the door. So on the video, on the teleconferencing, what we're using is a free service right now. So I think that's probably why it's timing out.
Yeah.
We're in a trial period for 3 months, but we were able to get it for free. We are working on a video conferencing application called WebEx. We had looked at Zoom media as well. Unfortunately, there, as you can imagine, a lot of people throughout the nation now are teleworking, or telecommuting, teleconferencing, including school districts. So all of these companies are
This
getting
meeting
backlogged.
is now being recorded.
All of these companies that provide these services are getting backlogged. Zoom media, we were not able to get that product from them in a timely manner, what we felt was timely. So we looked at another company called WebEx. We have purchased that, and we tested it out yesterday with a staff meeting. We had some hiccups with it, as we suspected, so we're still trying to work through that. But our goal is to have that up and using that for the meeting next Tuesday and then ongoing. And then that way you would be able to video conference in from wherever you are using your iPad or a laptop that has a camera and speaker system. So that's kind of where we're at, unless Tracy has anything he wishes to add.
That's exactly it.
All right, that's the non-technical answer on our technology.
Works for me. I was just wondering what our status was on getting video up. So
That's
thank
what
you.
it is.
On that particular note, in terms of Zoom, it has come out today that because it is so widely used by schools and everything else, that there are individuals of less than reputable character are now hacking into the Zoom conferences and coming in with profanities and lurid comments and interrupting what would normally be school sessions or church services. So where there's a will, there's a way when it comes to telecommunication and anything like that. So we need to be very careful in terms of what WebEx can provide in terms of gates, safeguards, and during that as well. And on that same note, it's been posted to our website that the FCC has issued a warning in terms of, it kind of goes along with protocols, meeting protocols. I'll cover it that way in terms of an agenda item. The FCC has issued a warning that scammers are prolific now in using Zoom and using all sorts of issues to say, you know, you're not going to get your Social Security check because of the new CARE Act, and so please give us all your data and information. And that is on our website. It's an official notification from the FCC. So all of our citizens need to be acutely aware of this particular problem that's going on in our society today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Anderson?
Yes, sir.
I know a couple of instances where you just talked about where people at banks are pretending, they're pretending to be banks and calling and getting any numbers and key business, key things from you. That's happening a lot. And they're draining like people's bank accounts and stuff. So I wouldn't give anybody anything over the phone these days.
Correct. Okay. Seeing as there is no further business, we are adjourned at 7:17. Thank you very much.